This is a video for people beginning a strength training routine who want to know how much they need to do in order to have an effect. In this video, we will talk about the difference between sets and repetitions and how many of each you need to do in order to get your desired result. To begin with, we have to define a few terms: sets, repetitions, volume, and intensity. A set is composed of repetitions. So say, for example, if you were to do 15 push-ups and then stop and then do 10 more a few minutes later, you perform 2 sets, one set of 15 and then another set of 10. Volume is a term used for calculating your total amount of workload. So, for instance, if you were to do 2 sets of 20 squats, you would have a total volume number of 40. This is nothing actual other than a way to calculate about what you did, and one variable we can use to calculate how to make the body adapt. Volume doesn't just refer to sets, it can also refer to the total number of exercises. Intensity is a term that we use to describe how intense or difficult a set or repetitions were. So if you perform one set of 12 repetitions and fail at 12, then each of those repetitions was less intense than, say, a set of 6 repetitions where you failed at 6. Of course, intensity can also just mean the intensity of the set, meaning that whether you did 6 repetitions or 12 repetitions, you did them to absolute failure or just a moderate level of fatigue. Volume and intensity are not something that you need to be concerned with too much in the beginning, but they will help you as you become more advanced and need to find ways to creatively push your training. There are different schools of thought when it comes to volume and intensity. In the classical era, people like Reg Park promoted a way of training that advanced the concept of doing 3 sets of 10. Schwarzenegger and many other bodybuilders of his era advanced a higher volume form of training, performing 5, 6, or even more sets. On the other end of this spectrum are people like Dorian Yates and Mike Mentzer. Mentzer was an advocate of 1 set, performed to absolute failure. Dorian Yates performed 2 sets to failure. Both were more on the high intensity end rather than volume school of thought. There is much evidence, strangely, backing both sides of this argument. What you need to ask yourself is which one is right for you. If you are the type of person who likes to push yourself to absolute teeth-grinding, eye-vein-popping failure, then it's probably safe to say that you're on the intensity end of the spectrum and can get away with performing just 1 or 2 sets. If the idea of pushing yourself to an absolute point of failure is not very appealing, then you may be on the volume side of the argument and can feel safe performing multiple sets of an exercise in order to provoke a response. To concisely summarize, if you want to go to a point of absolute failure during a set, then you probably only need to do 1, possibly 2 sets. If you are in the school of people who likes to go only to a level of fatigue, then you may want to do 3, 4, or even 5 sets of an exercise. You may even find that different styles of training work for you better at certain points in your journey. How many repetitions should I be doing? There's good evidence to show that rep ranges anywhere between 6 and 30 will provoke a response and change in the body. If you are doing more than 30 repetitions, you might as well be doing some sort of cardiovascular exercise because you will probably not provoke a response of muscle building. If you're doing fewer than 6 repetitions, then you're building strength rather than muscle. There are exceptions, but for the most part, again, somewhere between 6 and 30 repetitions. If you are just beginning a strength training routine, you probably don't need to be on a body part split plan. So a full body workout each session will probably be the most beneficial. In a full body training program, you want a major push movement, like a push-up or a dip, a major pull movement, like a row or a chin-up, depending on your ability, and a major lower body movement, like a squat or a lunge. It is also important to ask, how many times a week should I do this kind of training? If you are in the high-intensity school of thought, then less often is better, as doing sets to complete failure will stress your system overall much more than just doing sets to point of fatigue. If you're doing sets to failure once or twice a week, or in some schools of thought, even once every week and a half, will be perfectly fine to provoke a response. If you are in the volume school of thought, then 2 to 3 times a week, even up to 4, as long as you're not training the same muscle 2 days in a row, is perfectly fine for recovery. All of this is very individual, however. You don't want to be training while you're sore, or you will not perform optimally. All of this in summary to say, if you're performing very difficult sets to absolute failure, you need to perform fewer sets, fewer times a week. If you are more comfortable doing more repetitions and more sets, but only to the point of fatigue, you can do it more frequently throughout the week. You have to find which one really works for you in terms of what your body can recover from regularly. And the important aspect of this is also to think about progressive overload over time. That is, the concept of doing more repetitions or more sets in order to continually challenge the body and provoke more of a response. For more information on how to get the most out of your home exercise routine, please like and subscribe to my channel.